Brother Maddox.
My goodness, we're aggressive.
We're going to call this afternoon's meeting of the CRTPA to order. And do we have before we start the meeting, we're going to do a little presentation for our past chair, recognizing her for the great job that she did, bringing us through a transition to a new executive director and bylaws changes and making us more lean, mean, and efficient. Betsy, we thank you for the work that you did this past year. I've got big shoes to fill.
Oh, that's awesome.
Did she get a plaque?
I hope
Oh,
not.
didn't do that.
Got a plaque.
Okay, the attorney tells me I need to call the meeting to order, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order as well. Right.
Ah, she gets a plaque. Look at that.
Since
No.
I've already given her platitudes, this is a crystal vase.
That's a beer mug in Jefferson County.
That's one mean shot there.
Use that to play quarters.
And the inscription is presented, CRTPA, presented to Betsy Barfield for your service as CRTPA Chair, 2016.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So in our county commission, our clerk, he gives our departing commissioners this great big old eagle. It stands about this tall and it's a plaque and it's just awesome, but it's not what I want on my shelf. So I said, please don't do that to me. I said, give me something that I'm going to use because I grow roses and enjoy flowers. So I thank you and thank you for listening. I need that. Is it on? Okay. Anyway, I just want to say how much I have enjoyed being the chair for this year. It's been an amazing year. We brought in a new secretary for District 3, Philip Gaynor. Really, really pleased that he is with us now. We had a little bit of reception for him, brought him to the table, and we're forming some good relationships now with Florida Department of Transportation.
Yeah,
Greg, come on, welcome on board. It's great to have you here. That's another major accomplishment that we have stepped forward in this year, and it's been my pleasure to be at the helm of getting you here and taking you away from Marion County, and we have big job for you, and we appreciate you being here, and I think that that is excellent also. And working on the initiative that Commissioner Dozier with spreading apart the bike ped with the roadway programs, I think that we have moved that forward. And then not last but not least is our relationships that we're building together. I think we're moving those forward, and I think that that is truly amazing. So Commissioner Richardson, I am looking forward to us being under your leadership. I'm looking forward to seeing all of that federal infrastructure money that we're going to be getting from our new president.
Trumpster?
Yes, yes. So everybody, let's move forward and welcome Gadsden County. So thank you for letting me serve and turning it over.
All right. Thank you, Betsy. Let's give her a hand.
I say again, Betsy should be the official presenter for our board.
Have the gift of gab.
Yeah.
All right. We've got a new member here today, but before we do the introduction, let's do the roll call vote. Roll call for determining our quorum, if you would, please. And attendance.
Ready? Commissioner Wood? Here. Commissioner Barfield?
Right here.
Commissioner McMillan?
Here. Yeah.
Commissioner Merritt?
Here.
Commissioner Taylor? Commissioner Daly?
Here.
Commissioner Dozier?
Here.
Commissioner Nick Maddox?
Here.
Commissioner Scott Maddox?
Here.
Commissioner Nancy Miller? Here. Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have two new members to our CRTPA. Well, first of all, let me thank you all for the confidence that you have shown in me by electing me as your chair. I'm looking forward to continuing the work that Betsy has started and all of the good work that is yet to be done in our region. Betsy mentioned the relationship that we have and are forming, continuing to form with FDOT. We look forward to continuing to build that relationship and help to build the infrastructure, transportation infrastructure for our area. There's a lot of good things to be done, and so we look forward to working with you all on that. Daniel, you want to introduce yourself? Daniel McMillan is on the City Council or City Commission in the City of Quincy.
Well, Daniel McMillan, City of Quincy, City Commissioner. I'm happy to be up here with y'all. I know that the attendance has been lacking from our municipality board seat, and I wouldn't expect that for my year. So good to see y'all.
Great.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. And also, I don't know if you all got notice, but Sherry Taylor was selected by the County Commission to replace Dr. V. She's not here today, but they have appointed a new representative to the board. So we look forward to seeing her at our next meeting. Greg, are there any agenda modifications at this point?
No, sir, there are not.
Okay. Item 3 is the consent agenda.
Move consent.
Second.
There's a motion by Representative.
That was a bit of
A flashback.
You feel the power across the street, right, Chris?
Right.
You know what's happening.
Motion by
Here we go.
Commissioner Merritt, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. Any questions, any comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent?
I didn't know if that included, I didn't know if you'd included that already. I had asked
Okay.
our director to pull 3D just because I wanted to
okay.
make sure everybody saw the roads that were on there and thought about that. And he had a chance to clarify to us what differences that would mean as far as funding and that sort of consideration. So I guess now is the time for me to interject that.
Sure, sure. So Commissioner Merritt, would you be okay with amending your motion to accept the consent agenda with the exception of item D? Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, the consent agenda is adopted. That moves us to item number 4, consent items for discussion. So we're on item 3D. Greg, do you want to answer those issues that Commissioner Miller raised?
This was a request that we'd received, I believe, back in November or December from the Department of Transportation regarding, I guess I would call it a glitch in how these functional classifications are really originally adopted. There's a requirement in federal law that only principal arterials can be designated as part of the national highway system. So if you'll turn as an example in attachment 3D, after the cover letter, you'll see page 1 of 2. At the top says application for national highway system change. Down on the right-hand side, it says proposed NHS travelway. You'll see that box remove the national highway system designation. And the roadways that are identified here are not principal arterials, therefore they don't qualify for the national highway system. They are still federal aid eligible, so that does not impact any of the funding they're eligible for through the Federal Highway Administration. I did talk a little bit with Jack earlier today and Steve Schaefer from the City of Tallahassee, and probably I think it'd be a good idea if we sat down with the local jurisdictions, the cities and the counties, and went through the functional classification just to kind of make sure we're all on board with where everything is. But we concur with what DOT needs to do at this point because, in essence, the way they're set up now, they don't actually meet the federal requirements.
It looks like this is not an optional thing either, right? It says,
No, sir.
we're going to inform you,
Right.
ask you.
Yeah, the only way that we could put these back on would be to go through the process and have these roadways identified as principal arterials. I think by and large, most of them do not meet the criteria for a principal arterial, but that is something at least I think we do need to go through and kind of revisit to make sure we're comfortable where everything's at on here.
Woodville Highway, for example, I see is
Commissioner Merritt?
one of them.
Yes, sir. It's listed as an urban minor arterial.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Dozier?
I appreciate your effort to talk to city and county and kind of streamline all this. I think
that's really helpful. I think you've been doing that in a lot of different areas. So I hope when, the staff on both sides is interested in that, it seems like it'd help all of us, right? Is there any need to do that with our other counties, or?
I believe we need to look at all,
All of them,
at all
yeah.
since we cover the 4-county area, I think we need to go through all of them and try and take a look at them.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dozier. Any other comments, questions? Commissioner Miller, did you have any?
No, sir.
Okay.
You covered it. Those are all the things I had asked.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt then?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Merritt to adopt item 3D, seconded by Commissioner Scott Maddox, the cousin of Commissioner Nick Maddox.
I'm the athletic one.
I'll take better look.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item 5, and this will require a roll call vote, is a fiscal year 2017-2021 Transportation Improvement Amendment, or TIP Amendment. Is there a motion on the item? Moved by Commissioner Dozier,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Miller. Greg, was there any?
Actually, Mr. Burke is going to give you some information on it and take any questions you may have.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're seeking approval to approve the addition of design funding for a sidewalk project that's in Gadsden County, just outside of Quincy on Atlanta Street. This was actually a transportation alternatives program that was submitted last year. With that, if you have any questions.
Any questions?
I do.
Commissioner Barfield.
Is that going to tie into that Florida Arts Trail? Is that close to that Florida Arts Trail?
It's actually, it is not. Yeah, it is actually kind of the western end, it's just outside of Quincy city limits. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions, comments? Hearing none, would we do the roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Wood? Aye. Commissioner Barfield?
Aye.
Commissioner McMillan?
Aye.
Commissioner Merritt?
Aye.
Commissioner Daly?
Aye.
Commissioner Dozier?
Aye.
Commissioner Nick Maddox?
Aye.
Commissioner Scott Maddox?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson?
Aye.
Unanimously passes.
Okay, thank you. Item 6, and these will be CRTPA action items. On item 6, the public is welcome to comment on any discussion item after a motion has been made and seconded. Each member of the public is provided 3 minutes to address the CRTPA if there are any persons to be heard on these items. Item 6A, Greg, the CRTPA General Planning Consultant.
Yes, sir. We've gone through that process, and Jack headed that up for us. I'm going to ask him to give you all just a brief overview of the process we went through and the committee's recommendation.
Okay, Jack?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. In 2011, we went through the process to hire general planning consultants to do some work. Some of the stuff that you're seeing that's coming to fruition is the 6th Avenue Sidewalk Pedestrian Project, as well as the Lake Ella pedestrian improvements. Those came out of the first cycle for us hiring GPCs. In September of 2015, we asked that that process continued because the contracts were going to expire. So in that past year, we've been developing and sending out, discussing with consultants about what we're going to be looking for. And at the beginning of December, we put out a RFQ with qualifications going from transportation modeling to some analysis for operational improvements. And within your agenda, there's a handout that has all the things that we're looking for, approximately 22 different tasks, trying to cover the range of activities that we're looking at potentially, and for things that might arise during that same period. Typically, those contracts are 3-year periods with 2-year possible extensions in either a 1 2-year extension or 2 1-year extensions. So those are the things that we were looking at. We had those RFQs, or the proposals were sent back in the end of December, and we met in the beginning of January as a group with Greg, myself, Greg Burke, Commissioner Merritt, Autumn Calder, and Jeff Horton from Commuter Services of North Florida to review those and rank those scores and rank those proposals. And there was a pretty good separation between the consulting firms that came in, and we were recommending that we would have 2 consultants move forward into this process. Last time we had 3. I think that right now we're kind of getting a feel for what we're looking for in terms of money. We had more funds available last time, so we just decided as the group to just move forward with 2 of them, and there was a good separation between the scores on those activities and those groups to make sure that we weren't really kind of cutting ourselves short and should have gone a little bit further into that process. So, but there's a clearly the Reynolds, RS&H, and Kimley Horn move forward, or we're recommending to move forward with GPC contracts.
Move to approve Kimley Horn and Reynolds Smith and Hill to serve as general planning consultants for CRTPA and authorize the executive director to move forward with contract negotiations.
Second. There's a motion by Commissioner Merritt, seconded by Commissioner Scott Maddox. Are there any questions? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 6B, Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Boards.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be taking this one this afternoon. Okay. I guess some discussions had taken place before I got here regarding a designation as the official planning agency. As I put in the memo that went out in the packet, I guess in 2014, determination was made by the CRTPA staff along with the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged that the CRTPA had to serve as the designated official planning agency. In having further discussions with them, that's not necessarily the case. And the ARPC has asked that they be allowed to continue or to go back to that role as the official planning agencies for Jefferson, Wakulla, and Gadsden counties. And in looking at our current workload and what we'll have over the next year or so, I think that's a good idea. So I'm making a recommendation that we request that the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged designate the ARPC as the official planning agency for those 3 counties.
So move.
Second.
All right. There's a motion by Commissioner Merritt, seconded by Commissioner Miller. Any questions? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
I was a little slow. Leave him alone.
Did you have a question, Suzanne?
I just wanted to
Comments?
actually make a comment. I do not know if this affects your UPWP in any way. If this work is included in your UPWP, then please consider that any modifications that are necessary to that need to occur. That's all.
Right. And we will. And that's a good question.
Okay.
We will be admitting the second year of our UPWP for several things. This would be one of those as well.
Okay. Thank you. I think it's premature to consider that before the approval, so thank you.
Okay. And Suzanne, for the benefit of our new members, would you say what that acronym is?
Forgive me. All right.
Anything for some of
Plain
us
language.
members.
It's the Unified Planning Work Program. It's the 2-year work program of the CRTPA that basically sets forth the work they will do and the budget associated with that work.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, for the record, I was trying to do mine without acronyms, and I was having a very hard time.
Thank you, Greg. Chris?
And I just wanted to say thank you. I've worked with Greg and Jack over the past probably year to kind of talk about this, and I'm extremely grateful that this group has moved forward with this because it's a great fit for our council. We're already doing 5 rural counties, so to add 3 more, it allows our TD coordinator some more flexibility in how he handles his job. So just perfectly, just want to say
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none. Did we carry the motion? I think we did.
Yes, we already.
Okay. All right. Carried unanimously. All right. Item 6C, the MOPAC legislative priorities.
Mr. Chairman, and this is just kind of an overview of what we talked about at your retreat back in October. The MPOAC staff directors has established 5 legislative priorities for the upcoming year. These are going to be reviewed and voted on by the full MPOAC governing board next week at their meeting in Sunrise. To just go over them very quickly, and I believe there was a draft of the priorities in your packet. The first one is support the recommendations from the MPOAC Transportation Revenue Study and other options for transportation revenue sources. It goes into talk about expanding the charter and regional county surtax, which actually doesn't affect this area. The important one, I think, especially for us, looks at indexing local option fuel taxes. It's my understanding that the Florida Association of Counties is carrying that forward with their #1 transportation priority for the upcoming year.
What does that mean in
Right now,
indexed to CPI? Is it going to
yes,
vary
sir,
year to year,
it would be
month to month,
adjusted.
or what?
Yes, sir, it would be adjusted based on the CPI. The
Yearly?
state, yes, sir, the
Yes.
state gas taxes have been indexed since 1997. Neither the federal nor the local gas taxes are indexed to inflation. So that's been something that's been on the agenda for quite a while. The last bullet there talks about the testing towards moving toward a mileage-based user fee, which protects individual privacy, which that's been a big issue with a lot of the communities about the privacy aspects of that.
I think I recall this being an issue about a year ago or something.
Yeah.
During the campaign?
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
The next item is regulates distracted driving as a primary offense. As we talked about before, texting right now is considered a secondary offense. An officer has to pull a person over for some other violation, whether it be speeding, running a stop sign. This would actually allow them to pull over somebody for driving while they're texting. And that's really the example everybody uses. Item number 3 is restoring to the 2007 levels funding for the Transportation Regional Incentive Program. This was a 50-50 program that was established back in the mid-2000s, primarily funded off of dock stamp proceeds. But there's been a push to put some more money back into that program, and last year the legislature did respond with some level of additional funding to it, but I think everybody, of course, is wanting to see more.
No,
Yeah, we're going to let him finish.
thank you.
The fourth item was allowing strategic intermodal system funds to be used on roads and other facilities that benefit the state system. As it stands right now, those funds can only be used on state facilities. However, the thought process there is if a local government is trying to develop a facility that would not be on the state system but would benefit a parallel state system, that it should be eligible for those SIS funds as well.
Just be something like Crawford Highway, for example. Can't get CIS designation, but
Right, it's not on the CIS, but it would have to be, and I don't know if that would necessarily would alleviate a CIS facility, the expansion of that, but that's the idea behind this is projects that would benefit a CIS facility would be eligible. And then the last one is establishes flexible and predictable funding for transit projects, both capital and operating, identified through the MPO process. As it stands now, by statute, I believe 15% of highway funding, basically state highway funding, is put into block grant programs for transit funding. And basically the request here is to make that law more flexible. And if a jurisdiction chooses to flex more money into transit use as opposed to just highway.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, we did not put this on as an action item, more just as an update, so I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, Commissioner Dozier.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, my question was probably going to be for you, Commissioner Maddox or Greg. I think this sounds good. Thank you for the update on that first one that did have some confusion about a year ago. Commissioner Taylor, welcome. I know the chairman's going to do that too, but I didn't want to skip over you there. But Commissioner Maddox, do you all ever discuss at the MPOAC federal legislative priorities, or are you primarily focused on states?
We are primarily focused on state.
Okay. So I anticipate, that's what I've seen from the MPOAC, and I think that's probably good for that organization. It's a state organization. We do have federal and state legislative priorities, I believe, with the city and county. I'm not sure if our other partner counties, and things are going to be changing. They've been changing for years. We haven't gotten a good transportation bill maybe until
December of 15.
Yeah, a year ago. So I just think that may be something we want to consider in the future, and particularly for Leon, Tallahassee, those recommendations might flow back to our commissions. We could include them on our federal priorities if the need arises this year. It was just a thought, but I appreciate this summary. I'm glad we're getting in the agenda, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dozier. That's a good suggestion. And is there any opposition to that? Any other discussion? I think that's a very good idea. We we'll certainly direct our executive director to provide that.
Mr. Chairman, forget one other thing.
Yes.
At the retreat, we had talked about developing some local legislative priorities, but as I went through these, I think we're sitting pretty good, but when we submit this to our legislative delegation, I think we probably want to highlight on item number 1, the indexing of the local option gas taxes, as well as the distracted driving. I think those probably two local level, I would say, priorities that we need to emphasize when we put this out.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
One other
Mr.
question. Would you like a motion and vote to highlight the priorities? We accept the report, but highlight the priorities, and then you have the endorsement of the full board when you take that to the legislative delegation to make it more formal, or?
Whichever way y'all prefer to do it. I mean, I can take that direction, or
On point.
Commissioner Nick Maddox.
For specifically the priorities for us, for this board to take to the state legislature, I mean, to formally accept those, I think would be in bounds, just so it makes a statement that these are, of the 5 that the MPOAC statewide are looking at, these are the ones that we think are our top priority. So, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, Greg, but I do think it makes a statement.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
I would agree.
So I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
There's a motion by Commissioner Nick Maddox, seconded by Commissioner Dozier, to accept the recommended legislative priorities. I would also ask, because of the misinformation that was put out there a year ago about this mileage-based user fee, is that we, Greg, maybe be given maybe even some either bullet points or a brief narrative, short summary of exactly what that is. So if those questions come up, we can all intelligently answer
On point, Mr. Chair.
what that is all about.
On point to that. I met with Carl, we had a long conversation about that specifically, and he has agreed to do whatever he needs to do as far as getting the right information out there, whether it be meet with newspapers, come here and have a discussion about what it actually means, that kind of thing. So even if this board wanted to reach out to him, to have him come here to have a quick presentation about what exactly is and define it for us further, he'd be willing to do that as well. He was very, very accommodating when it came to that issue.
Okay. Is there any interest in doing that? Will we meet again before
No.
session? That's the issue.
No, before session? I think we will meet again before session. No?
No, we don't, we're not planning for a meeting next
Right,
month.
February meeting is
mid-March.
Yeah.
I think the reason
Okay.
why is also important to understand clearly.
Yeah.
Why this.
Sure.
To be able to explain it to people.
Well, I went back and looked at the meetings, because that was prior to my being here, and there was a definite, there was a discussion about 2 distinctly different topics, and I think they just kind of got melded together, so.
Well, and I think, too, and I'll get to you, Commissioner Maddox, I think, too, there was an earnest attempt to mislead the public in some instances, because even after we had that discussion and the explanation was put out there, there were still those in the community saying that we were going to be monitoring people's mileage and charging them for going to the doctor's appointments and such. And so it was intentionally misleading. So that's why I say I think we need to be proactive this time around to get the correct information out there.
Yeah, we can work with Carl and put something together.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Scott Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, statewide organizations of local government advocacy, whether it be MPOAC, the Florida League of Cities, the Association of Counties, the School Board Association, the Florida Sheriff's Association, all have processes by which they come up with legislative priorities. So you have a legislative conference, you go through and different people bring up priorities, they vote on them through committees, and then it becomes a legislative priority. Just because it is the MPOAC's legislative priority doesn't mean that we all agree with every single point in the MPOAC's legislative priorities, nor do we have any inkling of what a bill will look like should one be filed, and whether we would agree with that bill, and whether we would agree with that bill as amended, should it be amended. So it is disingenuous on its face for those to try to articulate that we all agree with every single thing in a legislative priority. I can tell you I'm a past president and a board member of the Florida League of Cities, and I do not agree with everything in the League's legislative priorities. That doesn't mean I don't support the League and their efforts as a whole. So in voting for this, there may be things that I would disagree with, little pieces of of different items, but it doesn't matter. The MPOAC has already gone through their process. We don't get to second guess it here. We just can help them advocate for the things that are most important in our area.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. Commissioner McMillan?
Yeah, and please excuse my ignorance, but what would be the purpose of the gas? I mean, obviously to generate revenue, but where are we lacking revenue and what's causing that for us to add another tax?
Greg, do you want to talk about that?
The bigger issue right now is cars are becoming more fuel efficient.
Right.
And virtually all of our transportation funding is based on that gas tax we currently have now. So,
and what kind of decrease are we looking at from where it was to where it is now?
I think when I looked at it for the CRTPA region as a whole, we were down about 8 or 9% since 2011 in gas tax collections. Part of that was, during the I guess the Great Recession, as we call it, people were driving less. But one of the things that play into this is the federal government has mandated by 2025 the average, what's called the average fleet efficiency of vehicles is supposed to be about 45 miles to the gallon. And when your entire transportation system is funded based on a gallon charge, your people are buying less gas, therefore you're collecting less revenue. So the thought has been to move to something where folks are charged per mile that they drive as opposed to per gallon that they buy.
Can I speak on point to that, too?
Yeah, Commissioner Nick Maddox.
Daniel, it wouldn't necessarily be, Commissioner, adding another tax. It would be in lieu of. So if you replace this mileage-based fee structure, you replace the gas tax with that structure. So it wouldn't be adding and having two there. It would just be replacing it.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
And also on point,
Commissioner
Henson's
Merritt?
hybrid Fusion she has probably pays a third of gas tax money that I do, and if she had a Chevy Volt, they would pay no gas tax money, but they would still be using the roads and wearing the roads out, needing them resurfaced.
Right.
That's, the funding for infrastructure is the real crux of the issue.
Yeah.
And
that's
along with helping the environment, we're still wearing the road down, but we're not
sure
generating revenue to pay for it.
And that's the information.
It's a trend, and it's just going to keep. Right.
Yeah, and that's the information that we need to get out to the
better,
general
not
public
worse.
so that they would understand
Thank
that.
you for helping the environment.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments, questions? All in favor of the motion to accept the legislative priorities of MOPAC for 2017, signify by saying aye.
Mr. Chair, that motion was to highlight the two specific priorities that Greg has said that locally we would advocate for in front of our legislative delegation. It went for the motion.
All right, so that's the wording of the motion.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Maddox. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. Before we go on to item D, our newest member is here, Commissioner Sherry Taylor from the Gaston County Commission. Sherry, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening. I apologize for my tardiness. I do have another job that requires me to be on it. However, I'm only here for a short stay, I think until Commissioner Villabisia finish a term, and he shall be back, so.
Glad you're here.
Well, thank you.
Sherry and I actually have the same employer. Thank you, Sherry. I don't know.
They shut it down.
Obviously.
We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Representing Gaston County. Item 7, Suzanne, Florida Department of Transportation. 6D? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's a big one. I'm sorry I looked over that. Item 6D, CRTPA Executive Committee bylaw revisions. Greg, would you go through those?
And it was just pointed out to me that actually we have a full board here today, so I appreciate everybody.
Really?
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you, Leon County, for
Yeah.
Anytime.
trimming your numbers down.
Whatever we got to do.
This agenda item relates to, again, going back to our retreat back in October, then our discussion last month to establish an executive committee that we be comprised of the current chair, vice chair, and past chair. We've gone through, and on page, I should have marked the page. Page 8, I've outlined some duties and the structure of the committee itself. There's also a few editorial changes in there for consistency. There were still some references to MPO as opposed to CRTPA. We also, too, had struck the requirement, or proposing to strike the requirement of 30-day notice for amendments to the bylaws to kind of streamline that process, because now, if you approve these today, similar to what we did last month, we'll have to post those 30 days prior to the next meeting. You'll vote on them again. So I don't really see the point in that. So that's one of the requests that we're making, is to actually eliminate that particular requirement. But the meat of this today, like I said, relates to the executive committee and its duties. Those are listed there on page 8. And if you'll see that second bullet from the end that's got the highlighted, that's actually should have came out. The full board actually has to approve contracts. So I put that in there as a note to myself and forgot to take it out. Okay, so Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for the director? Okay.
In progress, move it.
Yeah. But there's a motion by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Barfield, and as Greg and I talked, we agreed that we would meet on an as-needed basis rather than having regular meetings of the executive committee and adding to everybody's workload. So if you all are okay with that. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. Suzanne, what you got for us from FDOT?
I just want to say thank you very much for this opportunity to update you. We've been working closely with Greg Slay and Leon County to try and affect the transit stops that were identified as a #1 priority from the North Monroe Street Task Force. So at this time, we've gotten some good information, and we'll have another meeting scheduled on that. We've also been doing some preliminary analysis on some of your intersections, just to look at operational improvements that could be done, and I will inform you once those have been completed. I'll give you an update.
Nice on.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Any questions for Suzanne? Thank you, Suzanne. Item 8, Executive Director's Report.
Mr. Chairman, I only had one item today. It actually deals with these. As kind of going through and learning the ropes and stuff here, one of the things I found out is it's costing us anywhere from $600 to $800 per meeting to print the agendas. So I've talked to a few of you about the possibility of moving to an electronic agenda, and I'd like to see if the full board is good with that. If there are folks that require a printed one, we could bring them to the meeting, but that is one expense I would like to eliminate as much as I can, because again, I think we print 24 of these, Yolanda? Well, okay, and probably 3/4 or more of those will go in the trash right after this meeting, so.
Not mine, I saved mine.
Okay.
He's got a shelf full of them.
But what we would lose is probably we may print a few to have here on hand, but we wouldn't deliver them like we have been, and wouldn't, again, look to print something like this for 12 to 15 every time we print it. So I want to get some feedback.
I'm the only
on
elected
that.
official here that doesn't have one of these little screen things, so I'll see if Wakulla County can get me one.
There you go.
And
I'm so used to not having.
That's a way to shut her up, isn't it?
oh, you got a card now, Randy. You got to use it. Sherry, are you all okay with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right, Daniel, you're good with that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Barfield.
Yes, sir. Being the smallest county here, I'm very proud. Yeah, you need to get on the bandwagon. What I would ask is that perhaps just the final agenda be printed, so our folks in the room and us could have just the final agenda, so we can
Yes,
follow
ma'am.
along on that, make some notes.
Right, and we would print, that was the plan, to print the agenda sheets, but just not the entire packet.
Yep,
Okay.
all the
All right.
backup material, yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. And for those of us that use iAnnotate, if we can have a PDF copy of it.
We're going to look at that tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's all it takes is a PDF copy for us to be able to convert it over to iAnnotate.
No idea what that is.
And I think now ours goes out in a PDF format. It's just cumbersome the way that it's set up. So Greg and I have talked about that. We're going to look to see if we can't fix that as well.
That's fine, and
Okay.
I think it's a great idea. I don't
Yeah.
have any problem with it.
Makes sense. Board Member Wood?
I can't even on it because I knew I don't have
Yeah.
it. Where do you post this for public notice, the agenda and all
On CRTPA.org. That's our website.
That links to
No, ma'am, it's a standalone website.
Yeah.
But don't they have I think the city and the county has that on
Board
there, the
docs.
link on the CRTPA on their site.
Yeah.
Which begs my next question, is I was asking Nancy, is there wireless in this room that we have access to pull up the agenda, or do we
Oh,
need
yeah,
to put it
yeah.
on a thumb drive? Or
No, we have,
you said,
Oh, I said to him that even today I can't, see, mine has a telephone access, so I can still use it even though I can't get on the wireless, but right this minute I can't get on our wireless in here because it told me my password was incorrect. So I'll deal with that later.
I'll get your password.
But we do need to make sure, yeah. I'm
ask the
sure-
Russians, they got it.
Look out, Randy. Don't go there.
I hope
I'm
our staff
aggressive,
will
Mr.
help with
Chair.
that.
Does that mean everyone in here would have to get a new wireless password? I'm just thinking logistically.
No,
Is that going to be, I just assume get it on a thumb drive.
Randy, it's way more easy than you make, yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
It'll be
Be all
good.
right.
Listen, we
Get
could
on
get you
your
an Etch-a-Sketch
iPhone,
and do it.
You probably just tell me that's the laptop.
Yeah, we will probably bring a few extra ones the first go around to kind of test it out, but I just, again, when I looked at the cost, I just figured there was a better way to do that.
That makes sense. All right. Any other comments, questions? I guess we can just direct the director to go forward with that. I don't think we need a formal motion if everybody's okay with that. Okay?
I have to bring my glasses.
All righty. Item 9, CRTPA information. Do we have any correspondence?
A couple of correspondence in there.
Okay.
Just real quickly, we'd gotten a letter last month from Dale Allen from the Florida Greenways and Trails Foundation about some crossings on the St. Mark's Trails. So as we go forward this year, looking at some of our traffic operations improvements and stuff, we'll take a look at those as we go through that particular process.
Okay.
You talking about on the St. Mark's Trail, like driveway crosses and stuff like that?
Yeah, so these were particular to, let's see, like
Tell you a bad
East
one.
Ridge Road East. They're listed in the letter.
50% off Pick and Pull this weekend, and that's a dangerous place where that bike traffic crosses Pick and Pull, because a lot of people going in and out of there, say, distracted a little bit. That's a very dangerous spot.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Stretch.
Yeah.
That helps.
Commissioner Barfield?
Yes, I'm sorry, I need to go back to the bylaws and change our address. I skipped over that.
Oh, okay.
And if, for the record, our new address is 435 West Walnut. Everything else is the same.
Okay.
435 West Walnut.
West Walnut.
That's under the bylaws at the very end of it. Okay?
Thank you for
Thank
that
you.
update, Commissioner Barfield.
Does yours scroll?
All right. Item 10, citizen comment. Do we have any citizens to be heard? Okay, nobody has filled out a card to be heard. All right, we're moving right along. Item 11, items from the board members.
Nancy?
Commissioner.
Commissioner Miller.
I'd
and
just like to ask
Barfield.
our staff to please assist our new members in getting their passes so they can park beneath the building.
Okay.
Oh, that is an amazing thing to do. Thank you.
Yeah, and you all are eligible for that. I was going to add to that, if it's okay, Commissioner Miller, that we have an orientation for our new members. I didn't have the benefit of that. I had the MOPAC Institute, but I didn't have the benefit of a local orientation, Greg. So maybe if you could get with our new members and, okay, good. So if you could do that with Commissioner McMillan and Commissioner McMillan and
this
Taylor.
morning, so.
Okay.
A little behind.
All right, because I mean, this thing can have your head swirling if you don't know what's going on. It took me a while, so I was doing it on the fly. And then I also would recommend that you all do attend the MOPAC workshop if you have an opportunity. I'm going to attend for a second time, just to kind of get updated. I mean, when I went through it the first time, a lot of that stuff just went right over my head, so I'm going to do it a second time. I plan to attend the one in Tampa, if anybody's interested in attending that one as well. There's one in Orlando and one in Tampa in May. What are the exact dates?
April 21st to the 23rd and May 19th to the 21st.
Yeah, April and May. So I would highly recommend that you all take advantage of that as well. Any other issues from board members?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Barfield?
Yes, I mentioned this last time when it was time when we were going around the table, and as I'm going to mention it again.
Okay.
I'm expecting some infrastructure dollars coming down from the federal, from the new president. And I'd like for us to have that on the agenda and having a discussion about that to see if we want to perhaps have some shovel-ready projects, if there's any way to be able to do that. So I know that Greg and I have talked about it before, and I think Commissioner Miller thought it was a good idea, at least he made a comment about it. But anyway, I think it's something worth at least discussing. Perhaps particularly in the rural counties, we could use that help, and I'm sure, of course, in the city and Leon also, but I think it's would merit just a discussion item.
Bridges especially.
Yeah, oh, particularly, so.
Okay.
And I've started some informal conversations with several of the local staffs to kind of start that whole process. We had actually, when I was in Ocala, established a pretty good one down there, developed a list of projects, but that's something I want to get on and start at least cobbling together a list. I don't know that we're going to see anything, but I think it would be a good exercise to go through anyway, just to have something ready to go.
Sure.
Absolutely. And then I have one other comment, and this is directed towards Ms. Lex. First of all, I appreciate the opportunities to comment on upcoming projects in our county. And I happened to go and look at a bridge that you're going to be doing some work on. This is a wooden bridge. I can give you the information on it after the meeting, but this bridge is now closed to the public. It's only a 3-ton bridge. We no longer can allow any kind of vehicles over that bridge. It's expected to begin construction in the fall of 2019. That is a long time away to have this bridge closed. So I'm going to write my comments and email to you and your sweet people over there about this bridge, but I'd like for us to have a conversation about perhaps moving that up, because now the bridge is closed completely and there's only one way out down a dirt road, and it concerns me should we have emergency management issues.
Okay.
Bugs Creek Bridge is what it's called.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Merritt?
While we're talking about bridges, did everything work all right with Natural Bridge? Chris?
Yes, sir.
Natural Bridge, that got done and finished? Remember, it was a
Yeah.
big to-do?
Natural
Done?
Bridge is finished.
Oh.
There were concerns about emergency vehicles and others in the longer route for the residents while it was closed, but it was finished. And
Everything worked out all right?
well, interestingly enough, this is a little personal, but my father took my niece and nephew out yesterday. They had a big adventure, went to Natural Bridge in St. Mark's, and they inspected the bridge for us, and they said it looked great.
All
So,
right.
yes, I just got that report from all of them yesterday. Yes, and, you know, get the grandparents out with the grandkids, and we can inspect most of the county. But, no, I think it was a challenge for a long time, and there was just not much else we could do other than close that bridge. It is a hardship in the rural area, particularly.
Bad for us.
And yes, and everyone's coming through the county, but it did move very quickly. I'm very happy about that, and we have not heard any complaints since then.
Okay.
I actually rode my bicycle over it a couple weeks
Good
ago,
for
so it's
you.
holding up well.
You can ride a bike with me.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, real quick, and I won't belabor the point, but I just wanted to give you and Greg a shout out, because I think we're about to get out of here in about an hour.
Oh, isn't that
It has never happened since I've been on this board. That deserves some recognition for leadership
thank you.
and planning.
This is crazy.
Just a reminder, the February meeting is canceled, so we won't meet again until March
Springtime.
21st, okay? For the new members, who, well, particularly you, Daniel, and Sherry, our executive director is Greg Slade, if you need to reach out to him between now and the next meeting. Our attorney is Thornton Williams.
I wanted to do some work.
And Jack, I'm not going to butcher your last name, but you can also
yes.
reach out to Jack as well, I would
There's
Strowa?
Dr. V, and then there's
Yes,
Mr. J.
Strowa.
Oh, yeah, how'd it go? Okay, all right.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion and seconded. We
job,
stand
Nick.
adjourned.
Sure. On your time, can you provide me a status?
If I take this with me.
specially equipped and trained medics are on hand.